Hey, Fanboy Nation.
This is your pal Daffy Duck, and you're watching.
We're watching Fanboy.
A fanboy, etc.
Fanboy Nation.
Dot, I assume Tom.
This afternoon, I have the pleasure of reconnecting with Jim Starlin. You might have known a couple of characters that he's created. One of them, I think, was called Thanos. Another guy's getting a movie soon, Shang-Chi, and, you know, just some Marvel guys here and there. But today we're talking about Jim Starlin and Jaime Jameson. I hope I pronounce it right, because there's, you know, a couple of ways to pronounce it. About your latest creation. How you guys doing today?
We're doing all right.
We're doing fine. We only got copies of the book here a few days ago, so we're getting used to it ourselves.
Jim, last time we talked, I forgot to mention that you are a Navy veteran. So I thank you for everything you've done for our country. You know, and that was my mistake in not doing so. So please forgive me about that.
That was a long time ago, and I didn't do much of anything except try and get out of as much work as possible. Thank you.
So every artist that was ever in the military except Kirby has done what you did then?
Jack was in the military, and
no, but Jack was in the trenches. I think like everybody else tried to avoid being in the trenches.
Oh yeah, well, there are very few trenches that maybe people go into, unless they're full of water and then they float. But I was mostly aviation anyhow.
Well,
and photography.
Well, take us into the new book that you two have produced. You know, you got it right there for you. Got to show it for the camera.
Oh, yeah.
It's been really interesting. Now Jamie can do the rest of the interview while I can hold up the book. Basically, we had a lot of fun with this. It was a COVID-19 project. She came down with the coronavirus
really early,
like
4 weeks.
20 some odd pages in or something.
Yeah, about that, yeah. It was harsh.
And she got an exceptionally hard case of it, and I was on the New York side of the country, and she was here in LA. And basically, we talked our way through this on the phone most of the time, or FaceTime, and shooting the things across country electronically.
Yeah, thank God for internet, right?
Yeah, imagine going back to the old days, post-World War II, and then Vietnam, you know, you just have a phone call and go, this is what I'm thinking of, and then you have to ship it, and the carrier takes about 3 weeks to get it to you, or whatever else it would have taken.
Yeah, that's crazy. Technology.
We still had a FedEx of pencils, but everything else was all electronic at that point, and digital.
So how did the new book come about? You know, I mean, Jamie got hit with COVID early, 20 pages into the 100-page book. You know, we have a hard copy. It's ready to go. So how did all of this come about? You know, the story itself. What's it like when it's your own creation versus being a creation for somebody else?
Well, for one thing, it almost never happened because about 4 years ago, I had a compressed air explosion accident. And I blew a big hole in my hand between the thumb and the forefinger, about an inch deep in there. You can't see any scar, light skinned and all that. But it was pretty severe. And so I didn't draw for about 3 years. I was just writing Thanos stories for some strange English artist who was actually doing the drawing for me. Can't recall his name, somebody. But he was the art of my world at that point, and for a long time I just never tried, because every time I tried it hurt a lot. But I continued to squeeze balls and do these other exercises, and finally one day Spencer Beck, who was my convention agent, said, there's this young lady who would really love to have a drawing of Dr. Doom by you. And I go, I don't draw anymore. And he said, well, just try it. You know, I mean, she's persistent. And then I met this young lady. And
Well, you'd actually met me before.
I had met you before, but that's when we got onto it.
I
And she was
really-
persistent.
I really love Dr. Doom.
Yeah, she really loves Dr. Doom. So I eventually, after one day at a convention, I sat down and penciled it up, and it worked out okay. I mean, it was just a small drawing, but it was just a headshot, but it worked out all right. And so I got it to her, and she was happy, and I thought that'd be the end of it. But Jamie was also working with Keith Giffen. She was doing a lot of inking on his work. And I had seen it at different conventions, and seeing I had done this Dr. Doom drawing, I thought I'd try a couple other drawings, which I wanted to sell at the convention, but I knew I wasn't going to do anything more than just pencil. And so I asked Jamie to ink these drawings, and they look terrific. And so when I got the ambition to go do the book, she knew about the book before the publisher did, because I asked her to start inking it. And she suddenly found herself with a 100-page job.
During a pandemic.
Yeah. Well, we started off a little bit before.
Yes, a little bit before.
And we have been down to a convention in Mexico City, and that's when you came back to LA and got it probably on a plane.
Yeah, there was somebody hacking a few seats back, and they weren't really doing much to protect people. We really didn't know much about the virus at the time, so it was really early on. Yeah.
Yeah, you got it at the beginning. I got it at the tail end. So.
Oh man.
You know, it's
actually I think I had it twice. I think I had the Asian version first, and then I got hit really bad with the European version.
Wow.
So we didn't even know about the first time. They just said I had a rare form of pneumonia. I passed out in an airport, and they were like, "You've got a rare form of pneumonia." I was like, "Okay," but that was pretty bad. But then the second time, that was just, you knew what it was then because we knew about it.
It was so early that the testing showed that she didn't have it.
But the X-ray showed I did, and yeah.
Yeah, so the doctor said, you got it. We don't care what the test says. But yeah.
Yeah.
So we're touch and go, but she made it through. And so I decided to keep her on as anchor on the next book.
Well, that's fantastic. I'm glad that you're healthy now, and you know now you have the antibodies for virtually everything at this point, since you got hit twice with 2 different variants.
They said that you can still get it, like even if you've had the antibodies, they don't stay very long. The antibodies, because I did a lot of research when I was sick. It was like every new symptom that came about, I had before they'd announce it. It was like.
And you've been vaccinated now. You're coming on the 2 week afterwards, aren't you?
1 week Saturday.
1 week Saturday. Okay, you're coming to 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jim, the fact that you had to relearn how to draw reminds me of Willis Portasio. He had a similar situation. He ended up in a diabetic coma, and then had to, when he woke up out of it, had no idea how to draw anymore and had to reteach himself to do so. So I think you guys have your own convention at this point.
Well, we're actually there. There's a virtual San Diego convention, and apparently I'm going to be on one of the panels, which is about just that. I imagine Willis will be on the also. I didn't know about him, but supposedly about artists who have overcome some kind of adversity to come back at it.
Ooh.
Well, hopefully I'll get to check out that panel because I didn't hear about it. Is it San Diego Comic Cons or is it the Comic
Fest? Virtual Comic Con. I think it's next Tuesday, actually.
Okay.
You know, I just found out about it the other day myself.
Wow. This is the intriguing part before we get back into the book. But when you picked up that pencil and first started sketching again, was there pain in your hand? Was there a mental block trying to tell you that I can't draw anymore, so why bother? Or is it just, Jamie's persistence that you're like, all right, maybe this will shut her up?
Well, well, we were also putting together the Dreadstar Omnibus. And all of those pages, I mean, there were some of them we had on digital files, but most of them I had to go back to the book and rescan the page, and then I went in and worked on it. And so I was working with a stylist And so I had something that I would always have in my hand, but it wasn't pressing down like I would with a pencil, because I did the pencils and it would hurt. And after about 15 minutes, I'd literally throw ice into a sink and stick my hand into it.
Oh, wow.
And I occasionally got that with a cramp with the stylus, but never as heavy. But I think the stylus was actually building up the muscle, because it was over 1,500 pages I had to go through. Yeah, I didn't realize it was that much either until I actually got down to it. I squandered a lot of my life on Dreadstar. So I think this helped. But basically, once I started drawing again, the sketch, I was stiff. And the other draw at the beginning with, and by the time I actually started penciling pages, I kept waiting for cramps, but they never happened again. And I've been lucky. Actually, now I'm finding when I'm working on the computer on the coloring, sometimes I cramp up and have to stop working with the stylus. So it's just reversed itself.
All right. So it reversed itself, but at least you're still being able to work. And Dreadstar's back with this book. Now there's the guide as well, you know, the ultimate guide for it. When you get to not only revisit the character at some point, but now have to work on creating the guidebook for however many years that you've worked on the character, what is it like going back? Because you have these fan interactions that will read and reread either individual comics or trade paperbacks, and, you know, recite page for page and line for line and then panel for panel. And now you have to go back and create the guide. Are there certain fans that you can actually go and talk to? Or are you doing all your own research, or an assistant's helping you with all this? How's that working?
I have to be fair about this. I did very little work on that. It's Bob Greenberger's baby. He is the historian specialist. We brought him in, and I overlooked some of the stuff as it went along, but this is Bob's baby. He went through and, you know, I looked over the stuff and said, this is right, that's cool. They put together the actual visuals on it. I haven't got a copy of that yet, but I will.
It was a great idea, though.
Yeah, it was a good idea, and I'm happy for it. Jamie and I didn't have time for it because we're on to the next Dreadstar book, which is called Dreadstar versus the Inevitable. Which is our pandemic book, basically, in a way. Yes. Our post-pandemic book. So, you know, we've been keeping busy, and there are some more Dreadstar stories after this one that we were planning on. So we're going to be putting down graphic novels here for a while.
Well, that sounds like fun, and I know people are excited for it, and you're excited to be working, and you guys seem happy working together, so that's even better.
We tolerate each other.
A bit. Yeah. Jamie, when you knew before the publisher about it and coming onto the project after getting your Dr. Doom sketch and inking some other things, what's it like, you know, building? You've already had a portfolio and you've built so much along the way. Now that not only is it a classic character, but you're also working with Jim and creating even more of the mythos of Dreadstar.
I mean, I actually don't have a long history in comics, which is funny. I kind of fell into that, but I mean, I love inking. I mean, it was a little overwhelming at first. You know, it's like, oh my gosh, you know, panic attacks. Like, can I do this? There's, you know, I've never done such a big project either, so it's still a learning process. I find I'm constantly trying to teach myself new stuff, and you know, I love Scott Hanna's work, so he goes over stuff with me sometimes, and you know, but yeah, it's been fun. I mean, it's really great to, I mean, yeah, working with Jim Starlin. So.
Yeah.
And we put her to work on just about everything. She did a major part of the proofreading of the book.
Oh yeah, 3 times. We redesigned Willow together.
Yes.
Willow's got a new look.
She would send me JPEGs of hairstyles and what have you. And there's one monster that shows up in one panel, and I sent her an email saying something like, I got to draw an unusual creature. You have any suggestions? And she sent me like,
I said, combine like these 6 things and make a creature up that looks like this. And then he added a floating eyeball.
so,
It was like you just had to put the cherry on top.
Exactly. And
it can never be anything simple. It has to also have, you know, just that little added kick to it.
And that was for one panel.
Yeah.
Of course. And now for the rest of this character's existence, it's always going to have a floating eyeball somewhere around it.
Yeah.
If he ever pops up again.
Probably not.
Yeah. Well, you know, you're working on the next iteration, which is the post pandemic book. Jaime, you've suffered through it yourself. You know, what's it like 20 pages in, you get hit with this thing, realizing there's still 80 pages, things have to have slowed down till you heal, you know, and then pick back up again. Like, what is it being like? Not only, you know, because I've known artists that have worked through the flu and through various other things, but not something to the level of this where, you know, so many of your senses are gone and now you get it back and then all of a sudden you get hit again with a different variant. You know, like, what's that like for you being a creator while suffering through all this?
Well, there was a lot of time that I was not working. I mean, everybody thought I was not going to make it. It seemed to be talked about quite a bit. And I was like, I am not dead yet. I refuse to die before I finish Dreadstar. But it was tough. I mean, I didn't know, you were speaking about ailments and then things. I didn't know if I could draw. I am a long hauler. So I still have crazy different symptoms that'll just pop up, and sometimes I shake and I'm like, how am I going to put down a line like this? Or, you know, so it was hard. I mean, getting back into it, I got really scared to put down lines, and my friend Joel's like, just put down a line, put down a line, put down a line. And he'd be saying, just put down a line. So
she was always afraid that I was going to fire her and replace her with somebody, which, you know, under normal circumstances on a monthly book, that would have happened. But there was no way in hell I was going to be the guy who fired the gal who was in the midst of a coronavirus outbreak. So she had the most secure job in the world and she didn't know it. But she hung in there and, you know, like I said, keep them doing it. I'm going to do it again this time.
Yeah. No coronavirus.
Right. Fingers crossed. Now you don't need like the Indian variant. We don't need you to get that.
No. I've also been vaccinated, so.
So at that point, it just hit less. But
yeah.
You were mentioning Joel. Which Joel is the one?
Adams.
Joel Adams.
Joel Adams. He did King of the Hill. He was a character designer and great artist.
Joel is the nicest guy on the face of the planet. And then
that's why he's one of my best friends.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, Joel told me the story when he first got on King of the Hill and they saw his portfolio and they're like, who the hell is this guy and why don't we know who he is? And then when they found out that he was Neil's kid, they burst into the room going, you're whose son? Like, he was telling me all this over dinner one day. And I'm just like, I get it. You want to make it on your own, but nepotism helps just a little bit.
Yeah. He's just an amazing person. He actually would bring me soup down and like he'd bring stuff that I needed and have to like stand on the street. I wouldn't let him anywhere, like nobody could come in or near me. And he'd wave through my glass window and then we'd drive all the way down to Long Beach to like bring me, like I just couldn't keep food down and he'd bring me matzo ball soup or like just really helped take care of me when I was really sick.
Yeah, he's in the Valley. Oh, you're in Long Beach?
Not anymore. Now I'm in Hollywood, but I was in Long Beach.
Okay, because I'm in Huntington, so.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah.
Close by?
Not too far. Jim, the catalyst of bringing Dreadstar back, like, what was the driving force in wanting to do that, and then going Kickstarter instead of small publisher with somebody else? Like, how did that idea come about, and then go from there? I mean, this isn't a 2-week process, obviously.
No, I had no desire or intent to work with either of the majors anymore. DC and Marvel are in my rearview mirror, and that's where I'm going to keep them. Basically, Ron Mars was starting up at Ominous, and Ron's a good friend, and we were talking about things. Originally, we talked about me actually becoming part of Ominous in its creation, but I had the hand and wasn't sure I was going to do any comics ever again at that point, so I passed on that. And eventually, we wanted to reprint the original run of Dreadstar, and so Ominous was the most likely place for me to do it. I didn't have to sign anything away. I was intrigued by the whole Kickstarter thing, which I didn't know anything about at the time. It proved to be a very good way of financing this project, the omnibus. And so when it came down to doing the Dreadstar Returns graphic novel, automatically I talked to Ron and we started putting it together that way. And even as Jamie and I were producing pages, I started sending them off to them. And when we got 10 of them together, they started putting together the videos and what have you for the Kickstarter, which is all their work. I don't have the slightest idea how you would go about doing it on my own.
It's funny. I lived right in Greenpoint. I lived right down the street from Kickstarter. So I used to see the guys that run it all the time. I'm like, I didn't think about Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And we did.
What were the tiers like early on? Because, you know, there's always, you know, the incentive to go up a tier. You know, you get a poster, you get a sketch, or, you know, special message or whatever else. Like, how did the tiering go for the Kickstarter?
It was kind of surprising because they got a lot of other people to come in and do like drawings for posters and things like that. George Perez did a Dreadstar drawing. Andy Smith rather. A number of people, Bart Sears, they're just folks who wanted to contribute to it, because I wasn't really, when we started off, I wasn't really drawing at that point when we did the omnibus. There are different levels. There's actually one that has a statue level, which is a terrific little miniature statue, which I'm waiting for them to actually do the production on. And, you know, so all the people who looked at the Kickstarter site, I didn't really have a lot to do with that. So when I looked at the Kickstarter site, I saw what they were presenting for the first time also. So that, you know, I know a lot about the production, the pre-production and things. I'm amazed as anybody the way they will make it work.
I know you mentioned Marvel and DC are in the rear view, except, you know, till your projects and creations end up on the big screen somewhere, or, you know, at least on somebody's 55-inch TV in their living room. I do have to ask, what's it like to see it come to life years later, and now there's a new interpretation of the character, like, you know, Thanos being all over the Marvel universe, and seeing what he looks like in CG form?
It's surreal. It's uncertain. It's daunting at points. Just before the Infinity War came out, I was on an airplane and I watched the Justice League movie. And I was horrified by what they had done to Steppenwolf and the whole movie in general. And I had been talking to Joe Russo's before, and they had like 45 minutes of Thanos' backstory that never appeared in the movie, and was scheduled to. And then about a month or so before, Joe said, well, we have to pull all that. It's just going to be too long of a movie. So they pulled all of Thanos' backstory, and I thought to myself, well, that makes it just like the Justice League, where Steppenwolf shows up. And so for about a month there, I was sweating bullets going, I'm going to be just like Bob Kane. When that 1960s Batman TV show showed up, he had a piece of that. So he had to be really cool about it. So even though it was a complete antithesis of what he had created, he was going to have to say, I love it. And he did, clearly. And so I started practicing saying, I love it. Oh, I love it. Yeah, I love it. And I was doing this in line going to the debut. And about 30 seconds or 2 minutes into the movie when the Hulk and Thanos are fighting, I'm going, well, I didn't have to worry about that. That was a big waste of time. So no, I've been very pleased with everything that's come out. Gamora came out very much how I've pictured her on just about every level. Thanos, differences, but such a tremendous patchwork of they picked from different places to put it all together. My only bugaboo is the blue eyes. I wish they were still yellow. Drax is a character that he's more like the modern day version and my dumb version from the Infinity Watch, but Gunn and Batista just created something that's completely unique all into itself, and by far my favorite Guardian.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and no, I've been very lucky. You know, I've been incredibly lucky. The fact that they have picked up on this stuff, and I've got to see things up on the big screen, which I never would have imagined happening.
And you and Bob Kane were far more diplomatic than Todd McFarlane was with Venom, so you know that's interesting to see.
Okay, I tried.
Well, no, Todd after a couple of his first interviews. I haven't met Todd. I know quite a few people that have and worked with him, and you know, when Venom came out, he wasn't the most diplomatic about his take on the film, so it was just one of those things.
Okay, try to keep things as smooth as possible. I didn't have to worry about that. So
and they did a great job on it.
Yeah, I don't know how I would have handled it if they had the Thanos copter actually in the story or something, you know. But you know, like I said, they didn't have to worry. And Shang-Chi looks like it's going to be a good one also. So you know, fingers crossed as always. But I have high hopes. Yeah.
With Dreadstar Returns now being available not only through the Kickstarter, do you guys have a separate website for it as well in order, you know, for people to purchase it, or is it just straight through the Kickstarter? We can go in and order it.
Go to the ominous website, and you can purchase it through there. And we're working to get it into the comic book shops. Nothing we can announce at this point, but it will eventually get into the comic book shops, along with the guidebook and the omnibus. The omnibus is available now through certain bookstores.
I do have to ask, you know, we still have the loose leaf issues, you know, coming out once a month, and then the graphic novels every 6 to 12 issues coming out, and this one's a 100-pager. Is it more satisfying now to tell a 100-page story at once or a full graphic novel at once, rather than having XYZ deadline that we need it by week 3 so it can be inked and then colored and then sent to the publisher and then, you know, or to the printer and then come out? You know, now that you have your own time, your own schedule, especially with something like using Kickstarter?
It's a double-edged sword. I mean, it is, we do have to sit down and get ourselves the discipline to do 100 pages. It's easier to break down 20-page stories and do it that way. That way it's not so daunting when you read. But as far as the story goes, it's much better to do the 100 pages because I feel free enough to not go in a straight line. I sort of thought of Dreadstar Returns as sort of a Simpsons episode, because the Simpsons always start off with something happening which is unrelated to the main plot, and then they veer back to, and it goes into the main plot. And this was sort of there's sort of a Trump-like character at the beginning that we deal with, and then we veer back into the main plot. And doing that with a 17, 20-page story, you can't do that, because if it's not interesting enough, you've lost your readership. And those pamphlet books really depend on sales from month to month, and that's how you get your printing out of it. And it's a process I think is going up is obsolete and is going to disappear. but with Kickstarter, we don't need to do that. And so we were able to go directly to 100 pages right off the start.
I would say that receiving a stack of pages and being like, oh my God. It's like, that's a lot more than 20 pages.
Jamie, I had joked with Norm Ratman about this before because he was showing
I
me
love
something.
Norm.
Oh, Norm is the nicest guy, you know, very soft spoken, but Norm is sneaky. Norm will be like, is this any good? Yeah, Norm, your stuff's good. Really? You're going to ask after 30 years? But no, like I asked him one time because he was showing me a page that he was working on, and basically he had to black it out and then make sure that there was still space for the stars. Like it was some space odyssey or some space battle. And, you know, I know that you've done stuff like that, but I had joked with him, isn't it easier just to take a black page and then a whiteout pen rather than to take a white page and black it out?
I tend to do the same thing Norm does. I paint, I'll use a brush and I'll just get that ink on. I don't even know if you get black pages. Like,
when I was doing the Metamorphosis Odyssey to begin with, it was black and white, and I worked on gray pages. And so I black everything out, and then you pull out highlights with the whites along with the stars. And most of my stars were with a toothbrush back then.
that's what I learned from Joel.
Yeah.
Joel taught me that trick with the stars. I was like, oh, cool.
Friscuits and all sorts of things. God, what a nightmare that was. Now I just grab a JPL JPEG and slap it in the background and move it around and then in the new rig just so I don't get sued. And it all works out much easier than that dip.
I did cheat a little bit towards the end of the book because I was trying to get our deadline. I was only 4 days behind. But I'll never live down the 4 days. But I kind of cheated and used Photoshop for some of the big blacks there towards the end. Just so I was like, I'll black them out later in the actual page. Yeah, I'll get to that.
And I never do it because I got the TIFF.
I would send him the Photoshop document so he could color it up.
I had no idea you were shirking your duties.
Just the last couple pages.
Okay, I'll forgive you.
I'll finish them.
It's the last 8 of the 100, so it's okay. 92 pages is all Jamie.
Yeah, those blacks can be daunting.
Jamie, since inkers don't get the credit they normally deserve, you know, as finishers, when you finally get to see the final product, and like sometimes people will breeze through the books just so they could read the story. Some people will take it step by step and analyze every panel. As an inker, and you see the final product, you know, once it's gone to color, or even if it's just a straight black and white book, you know, what is your reaction in seeing it? Because, you know, you can sometimes hide some of the mistakes that the penciler makes, but it's hard to but it's hard to hide your mistakes when it's a black and white book.
I mean, I wasn't even allowed to look at the book until we were doing another interview. I hadn't even touched the book. It's interesting to see it come to life. You know, like I said, I was a learning process as I go. A lot of stuff I'd never, you know, dealt with ink-wise, and I was just like, does it look okay? But seeing it finish, it's awesome. Like, I'm super excited. Like,
I mean, part of the job of an inker is to improve. I mean, if you just go and do exactly what's there, you shoot off the pencils. And Jamie is very good about fixing faces. You know, my faces aren't my strong suit sometimes, especially female faces, and she added a lot. She also heavily condemns me when I've got the breasts wrong on female characters.
She's this panel she has some balloons going on, and this panel she's not quite as. Let's try to keep her in the same size cup. Or
she's my bra czar.
Yeah, definitely some changes there.
Well, I will let you know, my father was an engineer, and I can't draw to save my life. You give me a ruler, there's still going to be some jagged edges coming off of that thing. So, you know, don't worry if I ever say anything about your drawings or anyone else's, just kick me, because I have no right to say anything as someone that can't draw at all.
Well, it was definitely fun. Once I started getting better and get back to it, I'd go to Neil's store here in Burbank and just work there all day and, you know, plenty of reference books in a comic book store.
She's a lot more fun to deal with now. She's got some confidence also. A lot less wailing and tears.
There were some tears sometimes. I'd be like, I don't know. And when and then I just started laughing myself. I burst out laughing one day. I put down a really bad line. I mean, it was just really bad. And I always, you know, like, damn, or whatever. And I just started laughing so hard. I was crying. I was like, that's probably the worst line I've ever put down, and just laughed so hard. I had tears going on my eyes. And Joel's just like, it was contagious where everybody just started laughing. So I've learned white paint gives you a lot of confidence.
Yeah. With the book itself, and you know, we're not going to give away too much of the story. So usually up to about the first quarter of the book, since it's 100 pages, so we'll go up to the first 25. What are some of your favorite panels that you could tease at that you like the most?
Well, here's the one that everyone keeps coming back to. He was in office at the time.
Yeah, I almost cried with the poor monster that he kills in the beginning. I was like, but did you have to make him so cute? I was like, I don't want him to be dead.
Jamie is an animal rights person, and she did not like this first page.
It made me sad.
Yeah, yeah, we have a lot of fun with different things.
The double page with Willow on it. So, this was a fun page. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, I mean, we had, you know, this past page 25, but we had some fun with the Photoshop and the characters themselves.
Remember the page? There's a page, I won't give too much away, but I was like, oh, this page is cool. I want to frame this one. And he's like, you want to frame a bunch of dead people? I was like, they're dead?
Yes, you hadn't quite realized these were cadavers. And,
yeah, maybe not.
and there was a vomit page.
Which I was actually vomiting while inking a vomiting page. I said, if we ever sell any original pages, that one's going to be extra.
Okay. So you gave it some personal touches to the vomiting pages.
Oh yeah, I was like, I could definitely. I've got reference.
There's a certain gravitas to this illustrated vomit that you wouldn't get in your normal book. How's that?
Yeah, right.
There's chunks in the original that will make it cost just a little bit more.
Okay, you brought it down to a really base level. Thank you very much.
Listen, if one of the three of us is going to do it, let it at least be me. That way you two can still remain the professionals.
Okay.
We're above it all.
You know? Or the worst part is someone could actually take the DNA and try to clone Jamie.
I was talking about trying to clone my dog, and I realized I don't want to clone. I want to do that stem cell research to just get rid of any ailments and keep her alive forever. She's usually right. Oh, she's right.
Doggy stem cell. Haven't heard of that one yet.
Yeah, I was like, that's what I want for my birthday.
I'm surprised we haven't had any visitors in this interview at all so far.
Yeah, usually my cat Victor Von Doom, he usually likes to hog the camera and put his butt right there.
Yes, a number of my FaceTimes with you were not exactly the face looking at me on the screen.
So the cat's posterior is the star of the show.
Oh yeah, always. Which I'm wondering what trouble he's getting into because he's oddly quiet.
Well, that's good, and you know, luckily I'm allergic to cats, so I'm on this side of the camera, far away. So
I'm allergic to them too. I just can't not have them. I love them.
Okay, hold on. This is completely off topic, but you are the fourth person I've met that is allergic to cats that has them. Why? What's the logic behind it?
Because I love them. Well, I swore I had 3 at one point, and after the last one passed, we hadn't quite passed, and that's one Clover I named. Long story, but I wound up taking her in, and then I was like, okay, no more after this. And then I found Victor Von Doom right before the pandemic. He's a little tiny thing, a little kitten, and I was like, nobody's gonna take him. He's so bad. And I kept asking, you want a cat? You want a cat? And I wound up finding his home, mine. So yeah, they find you. Cats find their owners.
And there's different levels of allergy too. I mean, you're
If
basically.
I touch Clover, I have to wash my hands right away.
Yeah.
But I can touch Victor all day and I'm okay. So.
And it's not like she walks in the room like some people do and can't breathe because they can feel the cat
The dander.
That
is
one's
what
me.
it is, yeah.
That's you.
That's me.
Much.
You know,
I think I've kind
the
of
door
built this-
opens and I start suffocating.
Oh, really? Wow,
Yeah.
you're really allergic.
Yeah. You know, and then people are like, you don't know what you're missing. I was like, hives, a swollen throat, you know, everything
You
else
get
that
your
goes on.
eyes, like the itchy eye is that's what gets me. I have to wash my hands immediately after petting her because my eyes will get red and itchy and then it's terrible. But
No allergies. I just hate them all.
There you go.
Yeah.
So in the next book, there's going to be, you know, a giant space cat that kills everybody through its dander just because it shakes itself off.
Well, that's Eddie. He's already in the book.
Oh yeah, Eddie. I almost named Victor Eddie, but he was a Victor.
Oh.
Definitely Victor.
Well, since this one's out with you know, the return saga, and then now the guidebook that Bob's worked on as a historian, can you hint at the next one just ever so slightly, so you know we don't break the NDA, but people are like, ooh, I can't wait for the follow-up?
Well, if you buy the return, the last page is a lead into the next book. The last page shows the big baddie of the next book. And so don't want to say much more than that, but the name of the book is going to be Dreadstar versus the Inevitable. And I think we've all learned that we've had to deal with the inevitable over this past year, one way or the other. There are certain things that we do not have control of, and that's what the next story is about, is the fact that you cannot do it all. You have to eventually surrender to a certain amount of inevitability. It didn't come out quite right, but you know what I mean.
Okay, so this past year, you know, 2020 was a wash, and you guys worked through.
2020 happened?
Yeah,
2020
you know,
actually was very productive for us.
right. Well, I tell everybody we should have taken just the 2020 calendar year and plopped it on 2021. 4th of July was a Friday, Halloween was a Friday or a Saturday, Christmas was a Friday or a Saturday, New Year's, same thing, and so on and so forth. Just take the calendar date, plop it on 2021 so we could have fun. But things that you learned during the pandemic, and things that you might have done differently or will do differently if, God forbid, we get hit with another one.
Well, I won't be traveling if we find out about another one coming, that's for sure.
Plant outdoor stuff. I cleared about 6 acres of woodland of deadwood during the year that I was off.
I was just sick on it though for months, so.
Yeah, about a month into the pandemic, there was a thing in the New York Times by a cartoonist whose name I forget. And he was going on about how this didn't make any difference to him. He never went outdoors. All he did was work at his drawing board. And so the quarantine didn't do anything for him other than just make everybody else like him.
Oh, it screwed up my Pokemon playing. It screwed up. I mean, I was like, I had a crew of Pokemon people. We'd go do raids. It's like, nobody's Pokemoning. Missed out on community days, so next time I won't be missing out on that stuff. I'll just have to drop a lure somewhere here. I've got a Pokestop right outside. I actually raised some baby ducks.
Pokemaniac, by the way.
I raised baby ducks during the pandemic. There is one of them is named Starlin, one is named Neil. I had 6. Kirby didn't make it. He was a grunted one, but yeah, they're at Hollywood Forever Cemetery. So at least I've got a place to go where there's no people, and if they were there, they're in the ground. So it's pretty all right. That was convenient.
All right. So that kept you busy at least, and I'm happy you're healthy. And Jim, I'm happy you're healthy as well, and that you could draw again. You in finishing a 100-page book, Jim, before I forget, did that feel like an extra accomplishment, especially after what happened with your hand and the recovery?
It did. I mean, 100-page books were something I was used to by that point with writing. The drawing, when I got done with the first 20 pages, I was amazed that that had happened. But by the time we hit at 100, I was already planning the next one. So it was just continuation within a day or so after finishing off number one. Because I'm still old. Graphic novels. It's graphic novels. They have titles now. They're not numbered. I was on to the inevitable. So, at this point, production-wise, this is what I do again. And I have those goals to shoot for, but I know that as soon as page 100 is done, page number 1 has to be done the following week. It's just what I do for a living now.
Which is great.
Yeah, the way you have to do this business.
I love it. Well, hopefully, you'll invite me out to LA at post 4th of July, because California lifts its mask mandate and goes back to normal June 15th. So between June 15th and 4th of July, all the crazies are going to be out. So hopefully I get an invite post 4th of July when things calm down just a little bit, just so I could get a couple of sneak peeks at some of the pages you guys are working on.
Yeah. Got one right there on my board.
Just have to move your head a little bit there, Jamie. There you go. See it? Right there, everything you want to know.
There's sneak peek.
Oh, that's a spoiler page also. Dang.
Is it?
Yeah, we're gonna have to kill him.
Well, I also owe Joel a visit, so I haven't seen him in a while because we used to run into each other.
Yeah, we can all get dinner. We've got a great sushi place, like amazing sushi.
Okay.
Sushi. But yeah, I see Joel pretty much every day.
Well, please tell him hi from me, and I owe him at least an email or a call soon.
Yeah, come up.
Sure.
Come to the store.
The book is out. The Kickstarter's done. Dreadstar Returns, 100-page graphic novel, hardcover. There's also going to be a soft cover at some point, or is?
I imagine so. It's nothing definite yet, but there's always a soft cover eventually.
Well, yeah.
And it may be broken down into smaller pages. It comes to, who knows?
I remember thinking that this was small for 100 pages. I was like, this is all 100 pages? I thought it'd be bigger.
Yeah, she was kind of disappointed in the thickness of it.
I thought it was going to be like the omnibus sizes. I was like, oh.
And I said, you're right. It's not 100 pages. It's 118 pages. So,
Well, all that means is that you're getting us ready for the next omnibus.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we can do them at 5 books at a time.
See.
That'll be a thick one. Well, it's not as, I realize that that's like so many Dreadstars in those omnibuses. I was like, because I've got the actual run of the comics, the paper comics.
Yeah, each one of those is.
I was like, oh, when I look at how much, like that almost fills a short box, so it's like,
Yeah, but the omnibus looks better on the shelf.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got mine right there.
And it's actually better printing, and got to correct a few mistakes. Like there was in the original, there was a number of blue-eyed black people, which always bothered me. So I got to fix them inside the omnibus. And change the backgrounds on one issue.
Now I want to see this. Now I'm going to have to pull out the originals, but I have to go through all my short boxes.
Yeah, it's not Dr. Delphi. There's another black character earlier in one of the stories, and he had blue eyes. And oh my God, too late to make and do things about that.
I love it, and I love that you two are having fun working with each other and making magic, because that's what it is when you make art.
Yeah, I'm like, so far people seem to really like it, so. keep them going.
Perfect. Jim, I know since you aren't the tech guy that some people are these days, and but we do know that you have a website. So where can we find Jim and Jamie online, whether via website or social media?
I'm on Instagram and Facebook, and admittedly do not get onto that and do as much as I should. There will be more of it coming.
I'm gonna get better again
promotion
at it. I used to Instagram all the time. It's just James Jameson on Instagram, and then it's my full-on name on Facebook, which is it's like 4 names. But Instagram's a good way to get.
Yeah, the truth is that neither one of us are really extroverts. We're kind of private people, and we're just feeding this, not doing these things.
Well, I used to post a lot on Instagram, like all the time, like just cool things I'd see. And I mean, the last year I saw my bedroom or like my living room, or it was like nothing cool to post except my animals. And
Hey, you could have gotten a new couch that people wanted to check out. You never know.
No, I'm looking at the couch.
It's gonna get reupholstered. It's a Victorian old couch. I love it. Red velvet.
A total wreck.
It's not. It's a comfortable, warm couch. A cat that doesn't move likes to hang out.
So what Jim is telling us is that it's a glorified scratch post at this point.
No, my cats actually don't scratch furniture. They're really good. No, it just it needs to be reupholstered. It's gone through a lot of moves, and you know, it's an antique. Starting to really look at though, just in certain moves.
Well, perfect. I know, you guys are running short on time. They only give us 45 minutes. We went a little long on that, so I'm thrilled with that. But Jim Starlin, Jaime Jameson, thank you so much for your time today. Dreadstar Returns is available. One more time, the website where we can find it, Jim.
Ominous.com, ominouspress.com. God, I should know this.
If they Google ominous, they'll find it.
Yeah, Ominous Press, they should find it.
Ominous Press.
Ominous Inc. or Creation Inc. But here's Ominous Press there. Ominous Press, you should be able to find and get copies of this. And we'll eventually get it into the bookstores here.
Perfect. We'll link everybody to it. Thank you so much for your time. I'm thrilled for you guys, and I can't wait to see what's coming next. And hey, dinner post 4th of July. That sushi place sounds great.
Let's do it. Awesome. And yeah, you got to see the store.
Oh, for sure.
Which was like my home and my office for the whole time. Yeah. I was joking. I should just put a bed in the store.
You might as well have with as sick as you were and you couldn't go anywhere.
Oh, no. When I finally got better, I was anywhere but my house. I was like, I literally can't be here. Oh, but thank you for having us.
Oh, thank you for chatting with me, Jim. It's been a pleasure. Jaime, it's great to finally meet you. And I look forward to everything.
Yeah, let's do it after 4th of July.
You got it.
You take care of them.
You too.